Good morning, everyone on Instagram, and good morning, everyone on Facebook. We're going live for coffee and questions. I've got a million microphones going on today because I'm just trying to figure out what's going to give you the best sound and best quality picture because, yeah, technology, so much. All right, so today we're going to stick with the theme of race nutrition. We're going to talk about any sort of race nutrition really. I've got a couple of good questions around running nutrition and a question around endurance cycling nutrition. And then with Mooloolaba Tri coming up in a week as well, we're going to stick with some triathlon nutrition because it's my favourite topic. But it's a really rainy day here in Brisbane, so hopefully you can hear me over the rain on the tin roof. Hence the multiple microphones. But if you've got any questions, make sure you put them in here and I can answer them throughout the live as well. We've got a couple of good questions and a heap of spam questions again, which is a pain in the ass. I'll try and post what some of them are, but someone wants to know if I believe in aliens. So I don't know, there must be some sort of bots that's targeting question things. And also, just to let you know, the Olympic Distance Race Nutrition Program is now live for everyone. So our wait list got a special discount and early access last week, but now everyone has access to the Olympic Distance Race Nutrition Program. So I'll link it here so that you can jump on over and go and take a look. But it basically goes through everything you need to know about Olympic Distance Race Nutrition. So right from race week, which if you're doing Mooloolaba, you need that now, so you can work through what you're doing for your race week nutrition now, and a few other things to get organised. And then we go through exactly what you do the day before the race, and then pre-race breakfast, and then exactly we're going to map out a plan for what you're doing for the bike and for the run, and then also recovery nutrition, which is really important. And I find that most people forget recovery nutrition and fall into a hole after a race. Hello, Dietitian Zandy, and hello, Randy. Give you a wave. There you go. How cool is that? So Catherine can't get on this week, which is a shame because she was hilarious last week. And I haven't, for those of you paying attention at home, I haven't received a picture from Ali with the person with spuds in their pants. So Ali, if you're watching this, definitely send it through. I'm so keen to see a picture of someone running with spuds in their pants. Hey, Rach said, how you going? All right, so yeah, Olympic Distance Race Nutrition, I'll link it here for you. Dietitian approved water bottles in the background as well if you want to get some of those. I've been sending those out each week, so they're only $15, which is pretty cool, pretty cheap for what they are. And they've got the cool, really cool see-through strip down the side here so that you can see exactly how much volume you're drinking. And they're marked up in 100 ml increments as well. So really good to know how much fluid you're getting. And they're 800 ml total volume, which is a touch bigger than a standard bin because they are 750 mils. So there's the clear, there's the pinky purple, there's orange, and there's also black, which I've got on my bike at the moment. So that's why that's not sitting up there. And the last little announcement for you is I think I'm going to flip coffee and questions to Fridays, just to end the week on a high. I've had so many messages from people just saying that Mondays is too hard to get onto. So I'm actually going to trial from next week. We're going to do Friday mornings. Gives you a bit of extra time to submit your questions as well, and also set you up for the weekend if there's anything that you want to know heading into the weekend. So next week we're going to try doing Fridays and see if more people can get on a Friday morning because it's the weekend vibes, yo. All right, so let's get stuck into our questions, and feel free to pop me in any other questions too if you have any as we're going. So Alana, one of my clients, wants to know, can she mix and match gels in a marathon distance run? And the answer is yes, definitely. And unless you're using a particular type of product that I would recommend, then I'd probably suggest you do mix and match. Definitely for a marathon, you're out there for maybe 4.5 hours, you, Alana. You're a bit of a speedy. So it's 4 hours of the same gel, the same consistency, potentially the same flavour. So I definitely recommend you mix and match gels. And one thing that you are using already is Performance, which is a gel that has glucose and fructose in it. So it helps to just maximize your absorption of carbohydrate by having a couple of different sugars included in that gel. So I would definitely use those and a combination of the other sort of brands and flavors that you're using as well. Oh, Catherine is here. Yay, Catherine. I thought you meant to be at a lecture, Catherine. Well, that's okay. Maybe you can just skip out on it every week. And yeah, the Jules. Hey, yeah, the Jules, welcome. Hey. All right, so yeah, definitely flip or mix and match gels in a marathon. Just practice in training, Alana. So you might want some sort of strategy where you have one particular type each hour and the second one each hour you're mixing and matching. Your mirror lecture finished early, Catherine, so naturally you come straight online. Of course you do. Hilarious. Hey, Catherine, can you do Fridays? Because I'm thinking about we're going to flip to Fridays. Hey, Liza Claire, how you going? We're talking about gels in a marathon. So yes, definitely mix and match gels. Practice with your sports drink and your water that you're going to use on course as well. And the other option that you might want to play with for a marathon is things like sports lollies, like Cliff Blocks and Goo Chews, or just normal lollies like snakes and things like that. So to work out your plan, it's like an overall strategy about what you're doing. Oh, yes, you can do Fridays. Yes. Give that a sneaky like, Catherine. Hey, Catherine, you need to send Ali a message and tell her to send me through an image of her spuds in her pants. I'm on to a tea. I've already had my coffee this morning. It's been a long morning already, and I'm already on to tea. So it's tea and questions this morning. All right, so yes, definitely Alana, mix and match. Use products that have a variety of different carbohydrates in them. That's another big tip. And you can use some of the isotonic gels if you don't have access to water, or you use those in between aid stations. Otherwise, yeah, it's making sure that you have enough water to dilute those gels in your tummy, because they're really concentrated little suckers. And unless you're drinking enough water with them, then you're not going to dilute them enough, and then you end up with gut issues right towards the back end. All right, the next question comes from Carmel, another one of my clients. It's like these people just need to book in for a consult, but they're using coffee and questions instead. Maybe that's not a good strategy for me, is it? All right, so Carmel, I'm pretty sure you're referring, she's just done a massive 170K ride in Orange. And I think she's probably referring to that, but she's talking about, I guess, endurance events in general. She wants to know what to eat in the back end when you feel sort of sick and you're struggling to eat. Hey, Joe. So, which is pretty common, and the longer you're out there for, the more your gut shuts down as well. So it's just about protecting that in the front end of an event, so that by the time you get to the back end, hey, Joe. It is super protected and you can still digest food, and that feeling of sick or nausea is probably because things aren't digesting properly. So I guess, okay, so one to answer that question, suggestions for what to eat in the back end when you're feeling sick would be really easy to digest simple things. So things like Coke, water, sports drink. Try and use liquids as your fuel in the back end if you can't eat, and even something savory in that back end could be good, or something completely different. So I've got a secret Vegemite stack recipe in my Fuelia Adventure book, which is kind of like a Vegemite sandwich, but it's dietitianified, and it's not so secret anymore because I've told so many people about it that it's kind of getting out there. And people actually they associate those stacks with me. And so if they're out on a ride with somebody and they're like, oh, you know about the Vegemite stacks, you must have seen Taryn. So, hey, Carly, how you going? None of these people work. You guys are amazing. So that could be an option towards the back end as well. The other thing, if you're feeling nauseous, is ginger. It's a really good anti-nausea. So you can use crystallized ginger, naked ginger, or those Budrum ginger bear lollies. Or depending on what you're doing, like if you're doing a trail run or something and you've got access to things like ginger ale, that can be a good one for the back end as well. And I guess the other thing, if you are feeling sick and don't feel like eating, you need to find out why. So is it because you've got too much food in your tummy that hasn't digested? And there's reasons for that. Is it just because you've never done an event that long before and your body's not used to exercising for that long? And 3, like, has your gut fully shut down and we need to do a better job of protecting it? I like that you're multitasking, Carly. Go women, International Women's Day. Chicks are so good at multitasking. So I guess that kind of loosely answers your question, Carmel. We'll talk about it next time we catch up in a couple of weeks. But if you're talking about orange, then yeah, it's probably just that you haven't really done. Oh, it's a public holiday in Victoria. There you go. It's not here in Brisbane, so everyone's at work. Hey, Claire. What public holiday is it, Joe? I'm like totally in my little bubble here. Whoops. All right, so they're the 2 questions that I actually came through that weren't spam. No, I don't believe in aliens. But somebody, my hairdresser, told me last week that there's an interesting group on Facebook about birds being not real and they're all sent as spies. I haven't had time to check it out, but apparently there's this whole group about how birds are like robots and they're sent to spy on us and all this sort of stuff. So, oh, Labor Day, cool. So if anybody's been in that group, definitely give me a holler, because apparently it's hilarious. But I just said to her, like, I think just people have too much time. People have too much time on their hands and they need to be more productive with their days if that's what they're doing. All right, so they're my 2 questions. Has anyone else got any other questions? There's a couple of people online on Insta. There's a few people online on Facebook. So hit me up. Now is the time. You have access to me before I go and do some work for the day. Nobody's got any questions. Joe, what have you been doing? Fill me in. Are you still doing tries? You can have some tea. Now, I did have one question too, which isn't kind of on theme for today, but we might answer it another time, just around plant-based nutrition. Training for a half marathon. Oh, cool. Good one. Oh, well, that gel question may have given you some tips on what to do for your nutrition for the half. So you can definitely mix and match gels if you want to. Just make sure you practice in training. It's next Saturday. Oh, okay, maybe you don't have time to practice in training. It's too late. It's already tapering. Hello, Lisa, who's just joined us. Always too late. Yeah, so plant-based nutrition is something, if you guys want to know about it, let me know, because we might do a whole sort of coffee and questions theme on it at some point. I'm finding a lot of people, particularly after game changes, there's always like a big resurgence of stuff after there's some pseudoscience Netflix documentary. Just, yeah, heaps of people trying to go plant-based and no real idea what they're doing, and kind of setting themselves up to fail a little bit. So we might actually do a whole session or write a blog or film a video or something on plant-based nutrition so that you guys can get like a global understanding of what it is and what it's good for and how to do it, so that you're going in with a bit of a plan. All right, so Jo said that she has been practicing her race nutrition, so that is good. Cliff blocks for the win. Yeah, they're really good running. My best tip for cliff blocks is that you bite them in half with your front teeth and then chipmunk them one of the halves back here. And then you don't have to feel like you've got to chew them and swallow them while you're trying to breathe and run. They can just kind of sit there and dissolve a little bit. And then you get that central nervous system trigger as well up to your brain, the frontal lobe activator, which is a little performance enhancing kick as well. So Libby, hello Libby. Best vitamins and gels for heart health during a try. Oh, are we talking about during a try? Because if it's during a try, then unless you're doing Ironman, it doesn't really matter. Like if you're doing Olympic distance or something, then it probably doesn't matter. There's not a lot of sodium in gels. So if we're talking about keeping sodium low, then it would probably be more so watching the sports strength that you have. But otherwise, the amount of sodium that you're going to have in a gel in a triathlon of shorter distance is really not going to matter that much. And vitamins, I can't answer that question without knowing any more information, sorry. Depends what sort of heart health we're talking, depends what sort of vitamins we're talking. So yeah, I'm not going to touch that one, sorry. Too specific. Hello, Liv. Welcome to the party. Better late than never, Liv. And AT Sports Nutrition, hello. All right, there's heaps of people online. Turns out public holidays are great for people being online. All right, so Libby, sorry, I hope that kind of loosely answered your questions. If like I really can't give you like specific individual advice when we're talking about a health condition in a forum like this. So definitely send me a message, book in for a consultation, and we can go through that in detail if you want to. But just generally heart health, then I guess it's watching your sodium. There's not too much sodium in gels, so having a look at brands that are lower in sodium. But again, if it's smaller, shorter race, hi Liv. If it's shorter, smaller race distances and you're only out there for an hour, maybe 2 to 3 hours max, then I don't think it really matters. And I guess the other factor to consider would be fluid. So whether we're talking about any fluid restrictions or anything like that. So yeah, really difficult for me to answer without any specifics. And I also don't want to answer that specific question in a general forum either, because it's just a bit too risky. I'd rather give you specific advice that's suited to you rather than just some general stuff. So please don't take any of this as specific advice. Just some, I guess, pointers to consider and think about. So Joe has asked, how much sodium would you recommend per hour of endurance races? I guess that depends on hydration rate though. Yeah, exactly. So your sweat sodium is highly individual. There is a bit of a range, but it is highly, highly individual. So I can't recommend, there's no blanket number of how much sodium you should replace. There's a general range which sports dietitians will stick to, but it's, yeah, specific and individual. So it depends on what your sweat sodium concentration is, whether you're a salty sweater or not, and then also what your overall sweat rate is. So you might sweat sort of, like here's a rough number, you might sweat 300 milligrams of sodium per litre, but then you might only sweat a litre an hour versus the person next to you might sweat 3 litres an hour. So the difference in sweat sodium is really different there. So if you are interested in finding out your sweat sodium, I am running another sweat testing session actually. Good reminder, Joe. I penciled it in for the 28th of this month, so March, in Brisbane. You have to be in Brisbane because I need to be putting the patches on your sweaty bodies for you to actually get some results and some data. Thanks. Hope that answered that for you, Joe. So if you're running a half marathon, yeah, I can't give you any specifics. But if you're only running half marathon, you're out there for 2.5 hours, you can weather a bit of saltiness in that as well, just making sure you're not dehydrated. Yeah, so sweat testing, 28th of March, Brisbane only. So if you want to come, Joe, get your butt to Brisbane. Because there's lots of companies that do sweat testing online. Definitely wouldn't recommend it. It's so inaccurate. To get sweat testing right, like to put the patches on properly and have them like in a super clean, sterile state, and then get good data, it requires some skill, and it's like impossible to do yourself. So definitely don't go down that path. It's not worth the money. Like, I just think poor man pays twice. You can do that. They'll give you a number. It's probably not going to be accurate. So you're going to then be going off a number that isn't reflective of what your sweat sodium is or sweat rate is either. So come along to sweat testing on the 28th. It's a Saturday afternoon. It'll be our last session for the season. It's just going to get too cold from here. And yeah, we'll do it again next summer. So yeah, 28th. I'll send out some details for that as well. I've only just locked in that date at the end of last week. So yep, sweat testing is what you want to do if you want to figure out how much sodium to have. So even, Libby, for your question, like that's probably something that's worth considering. If you are worried about sodium and fluids, then actually doing some hydration and sweat testing to figure out, well, one, what your sweat rate is, and two, what your sweat sodium is like, so that you're actually replacing specifically what you need, rather than just guessing and maybe putting too much sodium in or not enough, just trying to get that balance right. So Joe said, I'm a sweaty Betty, I presume, from my drenched clothes. Yeah, potentially. Also because you live down in Victoria and it's not that hot down there. So maybe you're on the sweaty, heavy sweater end. All right, team. Thanks for joining. If there's no other questions, we might log off for the day. It's been fun. I can't say it's topped last week. Last week was pretty hilarious, but that's okay. Maybe if we do switch to Fridays, we'll have a bit more people online that are ready to get their weekend party vibes happening. You're welcome, Joe. Good luck next weekend. Hey, Chris, welcome. We're just about to sign out. But if you've got any questions, Chris, drop them in now and I'll answer them for you. Oh, I tell you what, guys, coffee and like tea is, I don't know, is there any tea lovers out there? Not a big fan. I'm trying to just have one coffee a day. So I've gone to tea, but I'm not sure that's going to get finished. Definitely not British. Hey, Bridie. Welcome, Bridie. All right, guys, unless there's any last questions, I'm going to sign out and then, yep, gives you a full week to up your game, Catherine, if we switch to Friday. So not this Friday, we'll do next Friday week. So it gives you more time to think of questions. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to answer and I'll definitely do that for you. And we'll see if more people can jump on Fridays. Even though it's public holiday today, I feel like there's lots of people online, which is cool. But yeah, most people Mondays have sent me a message saying Mondays are just like too hard. I guess you're meant to be at work and you're meant to be productive on Mondays. So we'll try and do Fridays when everyone might have some weekend vibes. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me and I'll see you next week. See you Instagram and see you Facebook.